Hey now, cats, we're back again on the Balls from Ellwood show this week, and I have to say it's been a trying week, cats. Things are pretty hectic lately, but we're not going to let that get us down. We are creatures of habit. We're going to claw our way up to the, being fuck that shit, man.
What? Yeah, what are we doing?
Yeah,
what?
That's not me at all.
That's not you at all. Who was that?
I don't know. Some asshole.
Mr. Positivity tried to creep in.
Yeah, fuck that guy. He sucks. I hate that guy. I feel like telling the whole world to go fuck itself this week.
Yeah, it's been a rough
I'm cranky. It's been a rough week, but I got tons of cool shit to talk about. So we're going to sally forth, and we're going to tell you some cool stuff. And I have an exciting guest this week. I'm very excited to have Aaron B. Koontz. You know him as the writer and co-creator and director of one of my favorite movies of the year, Scare Package anthology. You're going to love it. Or my name isn't, Mike C. Ball Solowitz. I don't know. Fuck it. That's the best I can do, cats. I'm fucking tired.
Oh, yeah. It's been a rough one for me, too.
It's been a rough week. What do you think? Oh, Xtina, where did you come from?
Hi, yeah.
Well, hello.
I was here?
Yeah, I forgot you were there. I was too busy bitching to the audience.
Yeah,
those three people don't give a shit anyway, man.
They care.
Do you?
But yeah, been a rough one for me, too. Been working in the office, and I'm, basically one of, the only people in the office. Been slaving away to make people happy. That's how we do.
Tell you what, though, we're like I said, nothing's gonna keep us down, cats. We're gonna soldier on. We got important horror news to talk about.
Ooh.
I got some fun stuff to talk about, and like I said, I got a great interview. I'm very proud of. I can't wait you to see. Super cool dude. Really my people, man. He's such a fucking dude that's just so passionate in the horror. I love talking to people like that.
That is
it's so easy for me to talk to them. It was just and it just seemed like we're two old war buddies shooting the shit in a bar.
Awesome.
It was great.
So,
but anywho, speaking of horror news, I'm gonna
tell me.
I just seen. I mean, this has been going on for years and years, going back and forth. Everybody knows that Robert Englund has retired Freddy Krueger years ago, but I don't know what had happened. He did that thing in the Goldbergs. I don't know if that stirred him up, but he's definitely now up to doing one more Nightmare and bringing people back from the series. And talks are starting to get serious in the Wes Craven camp. Now that Wes Craven's dead, his family owns the rights to all that stuff, and it just reverted back to them. So now legally they can do stuff. So I mean. He's excited, but the interesting thing, and I don't know if this is going to divide people or not, he wants to do one more, but then he wants to pass the torch to somebody else. But Robert Englund himself, is recommending, of all people, Kevin Bacon.
It's so weird.
I mean,
I love Kevin Bacon, don't get me wrong.
It's funny because I thought it was a little weird when I heard it.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it, and this might be controversial, but I honestly think Kevin Bacon could probably pull it off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, now he's a little older too, though. I don't know how long that's gonna be able to carry on, but I mean, I don't know. I honestly am kind of strangely positive that I think he could maybe. I wouldn't. Nobody's ever gonna be Robert Englund. No one's ever gonna accept anybody else as him. But if I had to pick somebody, I don't think that's really a bad pick. He's a competent actor.
Right.
He's a horror fan, so that gives extra points to me to begin with. And Robert Englund actually asked him personally, and he said he's super interested in doing it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
You might see in the future, cats, you might see a Nightmare on Elm Street with Kevin Bacon as Freddy. Oh yeah, this is 2020. Anything can happen, man.
That's right. Anything's possible in 2020.
But we're going to review his new movie too, by the way, later on. Next thing I've been super, I don't know, man. I have mixed feelings about this. Everybody's always wanted an Evil Dead 4. They've always bugged Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, but Evil Dead 4. Everybody knows that Bruce Campbell has retired Ash, which has not made anybody happy.
No, it hasn't.
It makes me want to cry. Big fat guy tears.
Do your boo-hoo-hoo.
Boo-hoo. It does. It upsets me. It does. But lo and behold, we're actually going to get another Evil Dead, whether without Bruce Campbell, without Ash, whether anybody likes it or not. And even weirder, it's not even going to be set in the cabin. And I've been hearing rumblings on the internet from all the major horror nerd sites that it's going to be in a high-rise building.
What?
I mean, I mean, I've seen, like Demons 2, that was in a high-rise building. I mean, I could see how it would work.
Someone's gonna jump out of the top floor.
I mean,
Or
I just don't know though, man. It's just so in a different direction.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know. I guess time will tell. But
I guess so.
I am not mixed on this though. I was actually really excited. I read every Hulu, on Halloween now. Hulu's kind of had a staple of Huluween, where they show like short films and a bunch of cool things that people would like to see during Halloween. Years ago, I think it was probably at least 8 or 9 years ago, they did a. Everyone knows I love Clive Barker. We just watched Hellraiser 2 not too long ago. But I always loved his books. And one of my favorite books was the Books of Blood, and it was a bunch of stories. They actually adapted some of them. They did Midnight Meat Train, which I actually thought wasn't bad. That was kind of a mixed bag to fans. But yeah, they did an actual Books of Blood movie. Probably 7-8 years ago, I think. Which they told a couple stories, and I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't fantastic.
Right.
They're doing another one. They're doing 3 more stories, and it's going to debut on Halloween for Halloween this year. So that actually excites me a lot. I think it has potential. Hopefully, it's something to check out. But as I'd mentioned earlier, we were talking about Kevin Bacon. I want your opinion on this one too. We both checked out the new Kevin Bacon movie, You Should Have Left. We were both pretty excited for it. The trailer was pretty crazy. I mean, I'm going to go to you first. What did you think of this film?
It's not great, but it's an adequate time waster.
Oh, stop.
Oh, stop. It is. It's decent. I mean, if you like Kevin Bacon,
I love me some bacon.
The movie, because his performance alone is worth watching. The girl who plays his daughter is freaking adorable, and she's great too. Great little actress. She can't be more than like 7 years old. And, what fascinates me is, how do they hire little kids to play in horror movies? Like, how you have to get just that right special kid. I can't imagine how. I'd love to be, behind the process of how that works, because there's a lot of crazy.
I'm always interested in that too, like the kids from It, and like how different.
Because there's a lot of.
You'd have to find a kid that's not
scared easily, and
not going to go into therapy in like 20 years,
Sorry, guys. As we said, it's been a rough week. But yeah.
No, it's just because balls are so boring.
No,
she does it all the time. Don't listen.
But yeah. So that part's interesting. Amanda Siegfried, is that her name? She's his wife, and she looks hot as hell.
I always thought she looked like a bug, and then in this film, she's actually kind of cute. So.
Yeah, she looks pretty good. So, for those reasons alone, and I mean, is it a bad movie? No. But is it a great movie? No. It's interesting, kind of confusing a little slow at the beginning. So, but it's worth watching. I think it's interesting. Kind of confusing again, like I said, but then it kind of ties together, and it sort of makes sense, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's just different. It's different. That's what I'll say.
The best thing I could probably say about this film is it tries hard to kind of be like a mediocre Twilight Zone episode. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
And I mean. The ending I've seen a million times. I mean, if anything, it's kind of redundant. But
I mean, I guess I don't watch enough.
See, I've seen tons. I just seen that. I was just like, oh wow, really? That's a cop out. I would have liked to seen a kind of a better ending than that. Yeah. I mean, but it's like you said, it's not terrible. I don't know if I would recommend it to people. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, hurry up and go watch it. There's
it's
50
a
other
real
things I would recommend you
slow
watch.
starter, man. Nothing really gets interesting to like the last half hour. But I mean, again, Kevin Bacon's performance is good. I don't think it's anyone's fault. I think it's just kind of a mediocre script, Like if it kind of got, punched up or tightened up a little bit, it could have probably been. It's a psychological thriller with really, it's not that exciting. I mean, so. Yeah. But I mean, again, I've seen way worse. So I mean, if you have some time and you want to see Kevin Bacon's old man titties, I mean, I say, hey, check it out, man. He's starting to get a little paunchy. I mean, now he has tits like I do. So, I mean, poor Kevin Bacon.
Poor Kevin Bacon.
Oh. I still love the dude, though, man. I think
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a great actor. I've always enjoyed him since I was a kid. He's consistent, man. He's always, you know, he's not afraid to take risks and take different weird projects like this.
I do like that.
That's what I like about him, man. I mean, nothing beats Tremors. Fucking Tremors was the shit. And I even like The Hollow Man, which a lot of people don't. So, oh, that's because I have terrible taste, though. So, I mean, when you have bad taste, man, the world's your fucking oyster. So. Well, moving right along, I was perplexed. I seen this shit in the news this week about Ron Jeremy now getting fucking busted for sexual assault, sexual penetration,
Yes. Didn't
and all
he do
this
that
for
a
like
lot
3 different chicks.
and get paid for it?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to bring this up. Like this story is so confusing to me.
Okay.
This dude fucks for a living.
Right.
He could easily call probably 100 chicks on his phone and just go fuck anyone. Like, I mean, and he looks like me, like, which is amazing.
He does not look like you, honey.
Like
He looks like vomit. And you, to me at least, are relatively attractive.
But I'm just saying, like, he's a known ugly dude.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't understand these people, man. Like, they could easily, in the industry, he could pick up the phone and probably fuck any, you know,
so your
hot chicks in
point
the
is
industry.
He shouldn't have had to molest anybody. Is
Well,
that your
no,
point?
like what I'm saying, he's not a dude that it'd be hard for him to get chicks.
Right.
Which is amazing, but it's totally true. You wouldn't have a hard time getting chicks.
Right.
You can, yeah, I'm sure there's chicks in the industry that would easily. I bet you there's chicks who would fuck him just for the story. Well, they'd be like, yeah, I fucked Ron Jeremy. You know, this dude could suck his own dick. That's amazing just to watch in and of itself.
So I didn't even read the articles. So did it say like these things happened on a set?
No, this was like, I believe from the articles, like out in nightclubs and then hotel rooms and different things. What's weird is the dude I watched a documentary on. He comes from I think he was a teacher at like if it wasn't Harvard, it was Stanford. He's this fucking intelligent dude.
Yeah.
So I can't believe.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the allegations aren't true, there's always that possibility. I mean, you're guilty till. I mean, in this country, you're guilty till proven
yeah,
innocent.
Yeah, you are.
So I mean, did he do it? Did he not do it? It just surprises me that this dude. That should be his defense. He'd be like, dude, I'm Ron Jeremy. Like, I have no problem getting pussy. Like, there's just no way this, there's no way this possibly happens. So.
Right, but then on the flip side of that, though, you know, he could be like, oh, well, this is just what I do, so I'm doing this, and this is how it is. I mean, not to say I don't know him personally and don't know his character, so it seems like maybe that might be out of character for him, but again, don't know.
That doesn't mean it didn't happen, though. I see what
Right.
you're saying. So, I mean, I'm on the fence and completely perplexed. But,
yeah, me too.
But it was funny. I was talking to my buddy at work today, and through about the story he started saying when we were in the quarantine, he went through every video on YouPorn while we were off. And I was like, well, okay. And then he had started to talk about different things that he was watching. He's like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. I'm going to watch, like, you know, sister-brother porn. You know, they're not related. It's all fantasy. And I'm like, okay. So, whatever.
It's Howard's jam.
But it's funny because we started talking like that about I think it's funny when they try to pass off, like, you go and it's like fresh teen pussy, you know, like, and then you go in there, it's a 36-year-old trailer park lady with like pistols tattooed on her titties, and like she has a cesarean scar and bullet holes, and like she's like, oh, don't you love this teen pussy, you know? And I'm like, I'm like, well, I don't know how do they pass that off, or even better yet, when a babysitter porn and the chick's like 83, you know, and she's like, I'm here to watch your kids, and then they fuck her, and I just think it's I have more. That shit's more comedic to me. Like when you're younger, like, and you're a dude, it's like really exciting. But now when I go on there, it's like, you know,
it's just too hard to watch.
It's so absurdly ridiculous. Like I can't even fucking get hard. I don't think so. I mean,
too goofy.
It's goofy. But moving right along, there's something I was super excited about that I just found out today. And you cats, if you are a biggest Ghostbusters fan as I am, which would be impossible, July 1st is Ghostbusters Day, and playing all over the world, if you go to ghostbusters.com/movies, you can see if it's playing on the big screen and drive-ins in your area again. I'm going. It's in our area. You don't even know how excited I am. But anyway,
That's pretty cool.
I got one more thing to talk about. I want to give you the update. Xtina's taking a break in the depravity corner this week. Maybe a good thing, you know. We need a little break here. Things have been so, you know.
The whole world is depravity.
You know, things have been so gravity lately. Like, let's just
we'll take a break.
Take a break.
My back for y'all.
Just gonna scratch your back. Hey, look at this show, you know.
Oh yeah. There we go.
We're gonna get 1,000 views for that.
Get yourself one of these here claw back scratchers.
Oh yeah.
Change your life.
And then it retracts out like this.
Yep.
But anywho,
best thing ever.
Yeah, no depravity this week. We're gonna take a break. Everybody be positive and be happy, and no killing, murdering, raping, pillaging. Do something good this week. But one more thing. Got I love Kill Lincoln, the band Kill Lincoln. Great ska punk band. Haven't had a album since 2015. New single came out today. Confession Obsession. It's fucking awesome. New album's coming out first week August, I believe. And next week, Mike Szynski from Kill Lincoln will be here to tell us all about it, cats. I'm excited about that. But what I'm really excited about is right now, I got to interview Aaron B. Koontz, writer, co-creator, director of one of my favorite films this year, Scare Package. Check it out. It's on Shudder now. It's an exclusive. Aaron B. Koontz. Check this interview out, cats. I'm proud to present it. I hope you guys like it. Check it out. See you next week. Hey now, cool. We're back again this week on the Balls from Ellwood show. And with me today, I am excited to have Aaron B. Koontz. He's the writer and director of one of the funnest and most wildest and coolest fucking horror films I've seen in a long time, Scare Package. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I have so many questions at you. This was one of the funnest movies I've seen in a long time. And I just, here's why I love it so much. I can tell that you are just, you're so into horror like I am and like most fans are. And it just, this is like the biggest love letter that you can ever ask for to any horror fan, man. And I love it. And it's, I mean, I hate to use the terms meta and stuff like that, but I mean, it's so, it's just so full of different things that are meta and horror tropes. And like any casual viewer would still like it, but like, it's just so custom tailored to like our people, man, our tribe. So I have to say, it's just so incredible. But I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on you, man. Like, what was your life growing up as a kid? Like, where'd you grow up from? Where are you from?
So I grew up in Indiana, grew up in Indianapolis. And I grew up in a strong Christian home. I wasn't allowed to watch horror films or anything like that. So it was part of the appeal was they were kind of this forbidden fruit that I had to navigate and find ways to watch. And I think that probably is a big reason why I love horror films so much now and why it became such a big part of what I do in my life. So yeah, keeping it away made me want it more.
See, it's funny. We have that in common. I actually came from a very strict Christian family, but it actually went the other way. It's funny. My mom I drug her to every horror film, like every Freddy movie, Jason, all that stuff growing up. And she didn't like it at first. And then she ended up growing and becoming a humongous horror fan over time. And like my dad would always be pissed to be like, "You're going to get possessed by demons and shit like that." Even after I had moved out and went on my own, she's still to this day, that's all she watches. She's still a hardcore horror fan. But it's really fun.
My mom does not watch any of them. In fact, I don't even want her to watch my movies because they're just not. I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom. There's no wholesome goodness necessarily in here. But yeah. I mean, I do remember we would go to the drive-in and we had a moonroof. And then my brother and I, when we were kids, we would sit on the top of the moonroof with our legs kind of hanging down. And I would always turn around and watch the movie behind me. And that was the first time I saw Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, man.
I think it might have been Dream Child, or Dream Warriors. I think it was Dream Warriors.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's the best one. It worked out. But I remember turning around and watching. Now, granted, I didn't have all the audio, but it was the visuals alone were just kind of messing me up. But I remember that's a very vivid memory of, whoa, what is this? Yeah.
Well, so that actually leads me to some of my questions coming up. So, I mean, was that the definitive moment where you fell in love with like horror movies? Like, was there a certain film or a certain moment in your life where you could say, "Hey, this was where I
from chasing the dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it wasn't that as much. Like that was still so in my head at that time. Horror films were only Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. Like that's all that I thought horror was. And I didn't really understand what the breadth of all. And not that there's anything wrong with that. If that was all it was, I would like whatever that is. So I get it. And if you watch Scare Package, I think that's pretty clear. But I would say I went to a friend of mine's house. And after church on a Sunday night, there was like a Monday where we didn't have school, which was always the best. Whenever you didn't have school on a Monday, I remember that was the best. And I would always have like a sleepover at my friend Matt White's house, and his dad would run a movie for us. And we'd always, do the same kind of stuff. And I think we were able to splurge with like Big Trouble in Little China or Beetlejuice and stuff like that. But then we wanted to watch Alien. I remember Matt really wanted to watch Alien, and his dad finally said, "Look. You're watching Alien, just don't tell your mom, Aaron. Like, don't tell your mom. I have to be in the room, but you guys can do it. I'll just sit in the back of the living room, all you watch, but I'm going to watch it with you, and if you're scared, whatever." And it scared the hell out of us. But I loved it. I mean, I loved it. Like, I did not know I could feel that way watching a movie. I just didn't know. And it was exhilarating, and I loved it. So yeah, like I've kind of been chasing that a little bit ever since.
That's that feeling that I think every fan is always looking for, man. Like you had that feeling at that age. I always call it chasing the dragon. Everybody's looking for that feeling again, Like I know exactly. Yeah. I actually got the keys to the kingdom early because when I was younger, man, believe it or not, my mom was cool and my grandparents we had this little mom and pop video store up the street, and they had all the cool like the media titles and like all the old all the great stuff. And I pretty much rented everything in the whole place, and they were really good about saying you realize it's fantasy and this is they actually talked to me and so they knew I was mature enough to not go and try to kill my friends. So I mean, yeah, I mean it's cool, man. I still to this day love that feeling. I think that's why it's when we were younger. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like it is now. Like I mean, now it seems to be such a big. It's kind of more accepted. When I was a kid, man, people kind of look at you like you're an asshole because you like horror movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that people are finally socially accepting the genre.
No, me too. No, completely. And actually, it's interesting because the first, at the time when we were making this. There was a big discussion kind of going on in Twitter or whatever that was about elevated genre and, well, that's not a horror film, that's a thriller. And like people trying to say Silence of the Lambs wasn't a horror film or Jaws wasn't a horror film. I'm like,
Jaws is a fucking monster movie.
Yeah, it's just a silly argument. It's a silly semantic thing because people want to think of it as just a B movie and they want to think that there's not something interesting to say. It's like, this is just so ridiculous. Like watch any old Carpenter film, any old Romero film, and try and tell me that there's not unbelievable subtext and beautiful, poignant things that are being said and done in this. And the idea that people weren't taking it seriously was kind of ridiculous. So I was like, well, look, let's just do our love letter to horror. Like, this is not meant to scare you. Scare Package is not meant to scare you. But it is meant for the folks that are searching for that to just find a way to kind of bear hug and group hug all together about all the shit that we love.
Absolutely,
and that's what it's all about. And have fun. Just have fun. I mean,
I think that's the thing too, man. A lot of movies nowadays just aren't fun. Like this is just a fun fucking movie. It has ability out the ass, man. Like I've already watched it 6 times.
Oh my god, that's holy shit, that's amazing.
Fucking love it, man.
My first feature was not a fun movie. I made a film called Camera Obscura. I'm so proud of, but it's a brooding psychological thriller. And then we played that with audiences, and then it's just so depressing at the end. I'd get up, I'm like, well, sorry, how does that feel? And I was like, you know what? I want to get up. I want people to have fun. I want people to be reacting and cheering. And I loved going to midnight movies with a group of people and people are just getting so into it. And that environment I just thrived off of. And I was like, I want to create movies for that environment. And I thought that was a fun thing to try and challenge ourselves with. And but I mean, it means the world knowing that folks like yourself and others have, look, dude, the reason why I even wanted to make movies is because as a kid, when shit was difficult or I was frustrated or whatever, movies were my way of dealing. Like I could watch a movie and it would help me like regroup myself, and I made better decisions as a person because movies existed. I know that might sound crazy to some people.
No, I still feel that way to this day. Like I have a shitty week or I'm stressed out. I have things that I look forward to, and I build them up so high, and when I see them, like I mean, it's almost like a drug, to be honest with you. I mean,
it is, man, and making movies is even more so because you're just this idea that you're like eliciting this response, and like as a kid that I would watch these movies and they were my escape, and I felt good, and I would pop those same movies in again and again and again. The idea that there's some person that I don't know who's watching this like weird idea that Cameron and I had one afternoon, and they're enjoying themselves, and they're like, this is what I needed, and this is what I wanted to watch, and this is what's making me have a better day. I mean, I don't know. I will get legitimate teary-eyed talking about it too much because it means so much to me. It means so much.
Dude, your passion is amazing. Like that's why I wanted to talk to you so much, because there's people that like horror, but then there's people that are passionate about horror, and I could tell you're definitely that. And those are the people that I think have the most influence and that I love talking to the most. I mean, you had mentioned before some directors. What films heavily influenced you growing up?
Well, actually, if you don't mind, real quick, I do want to mention too. So this was also an anthology. Like even though I created the concept and with Cameron and I directed like about half the movie, we hired individual writer-directors for segments too, and they are also individually these amazing horror fans who have just done that we were fans of their work that we wanted to work with. So we would produce their segments and make those happen, kind of like a showrunner on a TV show. These were like different directors for those episodes, but they still got to create their own versions. They're all like diehard horror fans, and that was a big, we had people who pitched us segments to do that were not. I was like, I get that you want to make a horror movie, that's great, or you want to make a horror short, and this is even pretty good, but I don't feel like I want people who this is what they have to do. Like they have to do horror. This is what they care about and love, and they want to express themselves in horror. So we really saw that. So I wanted to clarify that I didn't do the whole thing and all that. The whole movie and all that.
Yeah, I probably should. I knew that going in, but maybe a lot of people don't. But let me ask you this: I mean, it was a collaborative effort, and it's an anthology. So I mean, everybody that worked on a certain different story. Did you have certain ideas for them, or that was all just completely? Each story was all completely these directors' vision.
No, so we had a combination of both a little bit. So we had tropes that we wanted people to tackle, and we said, hey, these are the kind of stories we want to tell. And then as they would pitch their stories, we would kind of help shape them in one direction or another, help develop them, help kind of, and then we would also, always like up the gore. We'll help them get, different makeup effects artists to help in those aspects. And but yeah, so they had a list of tropes to pick from. And then we would cross certain ones off the list if we thought they were too similar or we want to go a little bit of a different direction. And then we also wanted different styles of comedy and how those would kind of interweave with each other as well. So we didn't want them all to be the same, like Chris McEnroy, who did One Time in the Woods with the Boo Monster, just like hilarious and absurd and crazy.
It's so good.
But if that was 90 minutes of that, I feel like you would like not even be able to breathe after. Because there's just so much going so fast. So we wanted to kind of have this kind of like, balance. Yeah, and just kind of lure you in, bring you up, bring you here. But then each of them are still funny in their own different, unique ways, And like that segment is so very different than what the Endahar sisters did with Girls Not in a Body. But if you're a fan of like Blood and Black Lace and Deep Red and these giallo films and all that, there's actually really, really funny things in there, but it's subtle. It's like subtle in the way it's done. And I love that. I love that they're both comedy. They're both horror comedy. They're both tropes, just in different ways of approaching it. And that was a fun thing to kind of like find that through line.
Tell me if this is true or not. I actually read a little bit about you on the net. I read this thing that said you had a career outside of the industry and you decided to leave it to pursue your passion in horror. I mean, is that true? Or was that a big decision? Were you nervous to make the kind of jump if in fact that is a true story?
Yeah. I mean, it's, it was really tough. So I worked in the game industry I graduated from film school and then worked, freelance in film. I worked on a bunch of movies just in whatever I could do. Got a lot of people coffee. I didn't care. I was honored to be on the sets. because I just wanted to be on film sets. And then I took a job, I was editing for this post house. And then I started editing commercials for EA Sports, and then ended up working in EA games and all that. And that became, I kind of got lulled into that. And I say lulled, I mean, it was there were great things that happened, and I had a really enjoyable time working in the game industry and met a lot of amazing people. In fact, a lot of my partners at Paper Street even came from meeting at the game industry. But it just wasn't my passion, and it just wasn't what I had to do and what I wanted to tell. And then I was running a studio for a game company called Zynga that made like Draw Something and Words with Friends and stuff like that. And it was a very good paycheck, I'll say that. And they were going to close the Austin office, and then they wanted me to move to San Francisco. And they offered me a ton of money and all this. And I was like, well, what if I don't want to go? Like, well, we'll give you a little severance. But you're turning down a ton to do this. And my girlfriend at the time, I was like, oh, I feel like I have to go to San Francisco, right? Like, this is what I need. It's so much money. Like, why am I turning this down? It's a great job. It really was a great job. And then, and she was like, what are you talking about? You hate this. This is what you want to do. And then I made the decision, and I quit and didn't take it. And I took the severance, which wasn't that much. And I lived off that as long as I could to write my first feature, Camera Obscura. And I wrote that when that was gone, and then we sold that film to Universal, and been trying to do this ever since. But yeah, it's been and then it took a while to be like full-time film. I was working other side jobs, like anything I could. And I had one company that I worked with in tech where I did consulting work and project management stuff, just boring shit. But as I was doing it, they were like, oh, well, Aaron, your side job, in film. And I was like, whoa, you're the side job, okay? Like, let's just clarify this. Like, I'm not, if this affects my film work, I quit. So, and I worked really hard. I was good at that job for people, but it only existed to allow me the freedom to make movies. And then I would just put every dollar that I made into a movie. I mean, Scare Package, to be very honest, I put a ton of my own money in that movie, because I just had to get it paid. I didn't make a penny, I didn't pay myself a dime. Like, all of us as producers, we just wanted to make a movie that was like, we wanted to do it with our friends. We wanted to do it the right way. We wanted to have not answer to anybody, just make it the way we wanted to make it. And so that's why it makes all of this that much sweeter, just knowing this journey that we've kind of been on. But yeah, I absolutely did that.
How did the idea for the movie come about? Not only that, you had mentioned, I mean, anybody who's seen the film knows that there's all these horror tropes in it. How did you come up with all of them? Did you sit around and like make a list, or was it more organic than that? People just all brought their own, or?
Yeah, I mean, we had a list of tropes that we kind of created, but then people also, kind of picked their own as well within that. I mean, one of the rules was just you had to make something with horror tropes and horror comedy, right? So, and then just pitch us what you're thinking. So, like Emily Higgins, we didn't have one that was cold opens as a trope. We didn't have that on our list, but she really thought there was something interesting about the person who was in cold opens, who was creating and setting, this like domino effect of horror movies to happen. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then once she wrote that, I was like, well, then that has to be our cold open. I mean, that obviously has to be the cold open. So then we reworked the framework of how we wanted the wrap to go to be around that, and customized everything. And so now we have our cold open is a segment called Cold Open about cold opens, which ends on somebody reading a script called Cold Open, and then the first line from Rad Chad is, I don't know, I don't like, movies, talking about movies within movies, that's just confusing, right? In a movie. So at that point, if you don't know what groundwork we've set and what kind of movie you're in for, you should just skip at that point. Now, just
that guy who plays Rad Chad is fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, Jeremy King. He's I've worked with Jeremy King for 15 years, and nobody else has really hired him for much of anything. And I think he's amazing. He came into audition to be a bike cop in this really small short film that a friend of mine did that I was helping produce. And it was a small bit part, and he was cracking us up. And we were like, dude, come back, we'll make the part bigger. And then I hired him, in a short film like a few years later. And then now I've killed him in every movie in some aspect, had him involved. Excuse me. And there's a whole, like Rad Chad Buckley, there's a whole Buckley Chronicles that ties in all the movies. So my first film, Camera Obscura, there's a small part where he plays, he owns Tad's Hardware, and his name's Tad Buckley in that movie. And he plays basically the same character. In a serious movie, we just have this like divergent part, which I like playing with tone. So it was fun. But if you see that, it's very noticeable. He goes to this huge fight scene that is kind of my homage to They Live that happens in Camera Obscura.
Oh, nice.
And then, but the music is even called Frankenada that I named after, They Live. But he's that. And then, so that's Tad Buckley. And then in the short film, he's Padre Buckley. And then this, he's Chad Buckley. And then in The Pale Door, he plays Bill Buckley, which is his great-grandfather, in the 1890s, So it's just, I put Jeremy in everything. He's the best. And I'm really glad that people like him because I think that he's so affable and so fun and just has so much energy that he evokes in his face and facial reactions. Like he's got a little, look, I know this is like horror royalty and I'm not trying to, in my opinion, at times there's this little like Bruce Campbell glimmer that he has.
Oh, I can see that for sure.
I just think it's really cool and just like the way that he looks at the camera and stuff, and it just makes me really happy. And I really hope that other folks, I'm going to continue hiring him, and I'm still making stuff. So, but I hope other people really do because he's so good.
As a fan, what horror trope do you find the most ridiculous?
God, I mean, we threw so many in this movie for that reason. I mean, I remember there were a couple times where the movie had been written and we were already like shooting stuff, and I was like, oh, we don't have a mirror gag. Why don't we have a mirror gag? There has to be a mirror gag where somebody closes a mirror and somebody appears behind you, or whatever, like some jump scare. Like there has to be a mirror gag. And then like, okay, so we wrote that in at the last minute and like added a mirror gag just to reveal somebody that was there. And then there was one where it's like, oh wait, but no cat jumps out anywhere. And so then I'm gonna have him throw a cat. Let's have him physically throw a cat. Like why would he throw a cat? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's funny to me, so we're gonna do it. So I don't know. There's so much. To me, I love them all in their way. But at the same time, like when a horror movie is not really trying and it feels derivative, and then like a cat jumps out, or there's like a mirror, I'm like, ugh, what are you doing, guys? Like, come on, you can do something more. But I think the fact that they are tropes now because at one point they were effective and there were things about that worked. So I think there's ways that we want to have fun with that. God, I don't even know if I could pick my favorite. I don't even know what that would be. There's so many.
Can you tell me the most challenging thing about making this film and the most frustrating?
Wow. God, the most challenging. Look, just juggling all of the different schedules because we only wanted to do. We did one segment. We would wait, go through some post elements, and then do another segment. So it just took a really long time. Like we did not want to just go, segment to segment to segment. Because I wanted to customize this, and the good thing was it was all privately financed, so we were able to just wait and just take our time making the movie and do it the right way, and that allowed us to customize things. So I think that was really great, but it was a challenge because like Baron Vaughn, he did so much to do. I mean, he's the hardest working person I know. I mean, truly the hardest working person I know, and he's the Tom Servo on Mystery Science Theater. The voice of Tom Servo.
I'm a big Misty dude. I knew who that
was. Yeah, he's so great and he's so funny, and but like his schedule, he's got 2 shows on Comedy Central, a show on Netflix. He's got a new show on Sci-Fi. It's just crazy, and so I like getting his schedule to work that in was definitely tricky, and then I think. God, I don't know. I also just some of the gags that we did were really, really hard to do. I mean, I killed somebody with a treadmill, and that was not easy.
That was great.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, like as a kid, I would always joke around with my friends about what are my favorite kills, and we would argue about our favorite kills in these movies. Like, well, then these have to be kills that I want people to talk about that are going to be fun. So I was like, okay, I'm going to kill someone with a treadmill. I remember Cameron's like, what are you talking about? How are we going to kill someone with a treadmill? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out because if that happened and a treadmill like cut somebody in half and was thrown, that's ridiculous. and I've never seen that before. So I want to do it. So we built a wall. Like that wall is a fake wall that we built. That's a real treadmill. We put it through the wall. There's people on the other side like holding it up because it's so heavy. We cut the frame in 2 shots. So the top part is an actress, and she's like stuck through the treadmill. And the bottom part are her, her legs, and she's wearing all green at the bottom. So we shot one, a plate of the top part, and then shot a plate of the bottom part, which were fake legs, so we could remove the green, and then just did this practical fall, so they were there. And then the sparks are all real and stuff, so those are all practical sparks. We didn't use digital sparks. So like, it was, and to do all of that just to have like a 2-second thing where you just see something fly by the screen, and then that part was digital, flying by the screen. But then when it hits the wall, like just see that and then just see your legs fall is just, I don't know. It made it all worth it, but it's still kind of ridiculous that we went that far for 2 seconds.
Well, everybody I know, like I said before, has been losing their shit over this movie. I think what everybody wants to know at this point is, do you think there's ever a chance there may be a sequel?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, look, we may or may not have a Google Drive that goes all the way to Scare Package 10 with ideas. Look, this is the most fun I've ever had making a movie. And look, I just made a horror Western that I'm unbelievably proud of, and it's the biggest film we've ever made. And it's the most personal film I've ever done, and I cannot wait for people to see it. Total opposite of this movie. But this was particularly special in just that I was frustrated in the industry after our first feature, and I just wanted to do something with our friends, and we just wanted to do something our way, and to have people respond this way has just kind of made it something special. So I will make, if the opportunity is afforded to me, we will make Scare Package movies forever.
Awesome, man. That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, I mean, we have ideas. So and it does lend itself very well to do that, but look, I mean, if you're going to do sequels, horror sequels are such a big thing. So how would you approach that? So we have some crazy ideas to tackle that.
Let's talk about your story, Horror Hypothesis. Where did your idea come from for the Devil's Lake Impaler, and how was it working with Joe Bob, man? I met him so many times. He's such a cool dude. He's one of my heroes. So could you have any Joe Bob stories?
Yeah, well, so that segment was first pitched as an idea by my friend Alex Uding, who's one of our producing partners, and it's kind of like the unsung hero of all Scare Package, because he was the master editor, like taking all these pieces together and editing that, and then post-production, which was so hard and so long, and he was in charge of that whole process. So like, shout out to Alex, it was just amazing. But he had this idea, this concept, and I was like, oh, that was just doing experiments to understand the rules of horror. I was like, oh my God, that's so right, that's so fertile. So then Cameron and I went and we wrote that, and then I knew I had to have the brooding killer. That was my and I wanted an amalgamation of Jason Voorhees, Mike Myers, Leatherface, all of this. So Tate Steinseck, who did the effects, the mask was really important. I liked and coming up with a backstory. Like, it couldn't just be a killer that we didn't know who he was. I wanted to have a backstory that was ludicrous but fun. So yeah, we did the frat bros killing people backstory thing, and and this idea, and then he's wearing the sweater, which is clearly from like a frat bro that he killed. That's like way too small, and then even the letters on the sweater, if anybody looks, they're Delta, Epsilon, Alpha, Theta, Death. Are the
I didn't catch that. Oh man, that's hysterical.
It's so ridiculous. And then the mask is just we really cut together all these different masks to kind of make this thing. But yeah, look, I'm proud of the Devil's Lake Impaler. I think he's a cool killer, and Dustin Rhodes, who played him, is just amazing. And working with Dustin was such an honor as well. And I grew up, I was a wrestling fan as a kid, and hadn't been watching as much of recent, but I have watched him now on AEW because he's had a resurgence, and I'm just, now that he's a friend, I'm just so proud of him. He's so amazing and interesting. So that's really cool. But oh, sorry, you asked about Joe Bob. Joe Bob John is amazing, and I think it's interesting because when he was there, this was before Shudder and all this stuff happened. Like, I didn't hire him because he was on Shudder. Like, I wrote him in this movie before anybody had seen. There was no resurgence. There was no new show, no announcement.
Monster Vision.
Yeah, it was. That's what I watched as a kid. It was Monster Vision and all that. And when the script got sent to people, we were told by multiple folks who were even horror fans. They were like, "Look, I think you want this like Joe Bob reveal to be a big thing, but I don't think everybody's going to know who he is, so it might not, matter as much." And I was like, "Well, that's okay. If you don't know who he is, then horror fans, like the die-hard horror fans, will know who he is." And that was what I always said. And then now he's had this resurgence, and he broke the internet and all this stuff, and all these things happened. And so it just that was luck, that happened. It was not intentional. It was just I was a genuine fan and wanted to do it, and I just tweeted at him, and he had followed me on Twitter, and so I just messaged him, and and then the rest is history. But he like one thing I will say is when we were shooting, so he has this this kind of like this bit that he always does on his show where he's like, "Oh, back to the movie," and he never goes back to the movie, right? And I don't think that's entirely a bit, because even when we were on set, he just is always talking, and he's always got like so many things he was talking about. So there were a lot of times I was like, "Hey, Joe Bob, like, we got to get back to one. Like, let's walk and talk over here, and do this, which was a lot of fun." But yeah, so he just had so many stories, and then he rewrote some of his lines, and I'm always that way with my actors. Like, if you have a good idea, like, let's go for it. It's all collaborative. Let's just find the right way to find the best thing to say. And so he wrote that whole line about you're what the internet did to film criticism. Like, that's 100% a Joe Bob line.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was all him. And then we had talked about how he hates Chad, and there was like one reference about him calling him Brad once. And then he's like, "Oh no, let's just go with that even further. Like, I'll call him Brad constantly. I'll never call him Chad. I'll just call him Brad." And I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is so funny." But no, he nailed it. He nailed it. He was so.
That's definitely a highlight, man. It was great. Let me ask you this, man. Being a director and a writer, has it ever been detrimental to relationships with your family, friends? Does it ever get in the way? Is it hard to balance between like your personal life and your career?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think that not to be too personal, but I mean, I had a 6+ year relationship that I think that a big reason why that ended is because I got so serious about having to do this. And again, not to say that person wasn't supportive. She was very supportive, but it I think that I'll say this honestly, like my priority was movies first. It was, and it is in my life. I was just up until 6:30 in the morning last night because I got inspired to do something kind of creative and what I was working on, and I don't stop. So I don't, if I'm inspired and I'm writing something and I feel like I'm in a groove, I just go, and everything else goes to the wayside to like get this made. And The Pale Door, for example, was so hard to make. I mean, and stories will come out about everything that happened in that movie and all of the ordeals that we went through. And, I just like willed that into existence with like every ounce of my being every single day. So yeah, I think it becomes intense. And I think that I'm so passionate about this and what it is that I have to find that right balance, but, look, my friends are filmmakers really, and my company is really what I deal with. And then, because I mean, even folks that I work with are my oldest friend, Sean Talley, who we met on the bus in 7th grade in junior high, is one of our partners at Paper Street. Cameron Burns, who I've known for 15 years, same thing. So there's a lot of old friends, and I just work with. That's what I do. I work with my friends. I work with the people that I love, and but. Yeah, man, it's hard. It's really hard. I've just even in the past year, just going on dates and stuff, it's just been so difficult because, they're like, "Oh, you don't have time for me," and I'm like, "I like you. I do have time. I mean, I have time, but it's just, sorry, I got to do this right now. Sorry. I mean, this is what it's going to be, and I don't know when I'm going to find that balance, and I don't know what that means. But I will say right now, I'm very, very happy in my life because all I want to do is make movies, and I'm making movies. That's all I've ever wanted to do. So I'll take that for now. And then eventually I'm sure the right combination of things will work out. But, I'm just focused on making movies.
That seems like the curse of the creative person, though. I mean, you got to find somebody that's actually willing to accept, you whenever you're going to be creative, and then be able to, not be entertained 24/7. Not have you be the sole entertainment. So, I mean, I'm sure eventually, I'm sure there's the right horror chick out there for you somewhere.
All good. It's all. I mean, honestly, I'm truly not worried about it. But yeah, I mean, directing can be lonely. There's a lot of time you're spending, but again, I'm so lucky. I'm just so lucky. Like, I just love doing this. So, like, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. So.
What is your favorite and least favorite horror film?
Well, I don't want to say my least favorite because I don't like talking down about any horror films. I'll say that. Just because that's one of the things I love about Joe Bob is he like finds a way to embrace even the really bad horror films. And look, I'm not saying there aren't bad horror. But and again, I'm not saying there aren't any. I just have personally, I never tried because especially now that I've made movies, they're so hard. They're just so hard to make, and nobody knows what went into. I mean, look, people hated Camera Obscura in their first feature. Hated it. There are a lot of people who did, but also they might not know that that's not even my cut. Like the cut that's released is like not the version of the film that I tried to release. And
really?
And things got changed at the end that I'm really mad were changed. And yes, I said yes, but I felt pressured and I did it and I shouldn't have. And you learn those lessons. But I think there's people like, oh, this is stupid. Like, why would somebody do this? And it's like, well, I didn't mean to do that. I tried not to do that. And you don't know that nuance. And so I've just kind of grown to appreciate how hard it is to make movies. And because there's a phrase of like, takes a village and making movies a miracle. Like every movie's a miracle. And I think it's completely true. So, but anyway, sorry, that was a little diatribe. I apologize. But you said this was my favorite horror film. I mean, it has to be Jaws. I mean, Jaws is my favorite film of all time. So Jaws.
That's a great pick.
Jaws tattoo. It's hard to see, but I mean,
you get the 4K Blu-ray yet?
Oh, what's that? No. So, I own it, but I have not been able to watch it because I'm actually in between houses and I'm living in Airbnbs because when COVID hit, I was going to buy a house and all my stuff's in storage. Then I'm in this Airbnb and I don't even have a Blu-ray player right now, which is frustrating. But no, yeah, Jaws was, so like growing up, I loved sharks and all this. And like, that was a movie I got to saw and I didn't even know that was a horror film at the time. And we used to go to Florida every year. And so I would always want to go to like the shark tanks and all that and everything. So Jaws is also that perfect film in that every time I watch it, and even now, even though obviously my taste has changed and I've grown up and all this, it's still my favorite movie. And it's actually even better because now I can appreciate what efforts of craft and direction and filmmaking and writing and all the aspects
across the board. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean it's perfect. It's perfect. So yeah, Jaws is so damn good. Like, it's so damn good. I will say a recent memory. I'm very obsessed with Us, and I know some people are like,
I love it.
But I liked it even more than Get Out, and I
did too, actually.
And I love Get Out. I did
too. I thought that was great, but I thought that far surpassed it. There's just something. There's just some like tone about it that
well, and Jordan Peele is just so damn good at what he does.
I love that.
Like he has such a way of like hiding all of these like subtle aspects of like what he's talking about without like beating your head over it. And it's just genius. I mean, it's just genius like what he's doing. And I mean, every time I watch it, I pick up on new things, like new little hints of stuff.
Subtle nuances. Yeah, he's an expert storyteller for sure.
Yeah, I'm
looking forward to the remake of Candyman that he's producing.
Yeah, Nia DaCosta, who's, I'm really excited. I mean, she made a great movie called Little Woods, and I think she's a fantastic voice, and I'm really glad that he's like ushering her voice forward because, Candyman looks awesome. And Candyman's, by the way, of all those like era slashers, look, Friday the 13th is like my favorite, Nightmare on Elm Street and all that, but maybe the best, arguably, could be Candyman, just as far as the execution of that movie and just like a standalone film and the way that he did it. I think is so good. It's so scary. It's so visually unique. But like from a quality bar, it's there. But it's, again, my favorite are some of more fun ones like Frank and Cheap and stuff like that. But I love Candyman.
In your body of work, what are you most proud of?
Well, actually, it's the Pale Door. It'll be the Pale Door because it hasn't come out yet. But that is something that it's just a very personal story. It does a lot with my brother and my father, and a lot of things I wanted to say. And I got to work with like dream actors I've always wanted to work with. And it's just the most ambitious thing we've ever done. And I have no idea how people respond to that movie. I really don't. It's weird and different. But to get to make a horror Western like that, is it's all of me like put into that movie. All of me put in that movie, personally, interest and everything. So that's probably what I'm the most proud of, because even if people hate it, like that is always going to be a movie ultimately. I'm so proud of what this is because also I know like what we did, what we made happen to make that movie happen, and so like nobody can take that away from me, so I hate it. It's something that nobody's seen yet, but in August, coming out in less than 2 months. So
Let me ask you this, man. What's something that you, as a fan, as fans, would like to know about you that may surprise us?
May surprise. I don't know. I mean, so I love. So like my all-time favorite filmmaker is Paul Thomas Anderson. That may surprise some, but especially in horror. That it's someone like that. I mean, I'm a cinephile, right? So I love movies in particular, and I'm obviously a diehard passion of horror. But my all-time favorite filmmaker it's Paul Thomas Anderson. Then it's like John Carpenter right after. But yeah, I mean, I think that might shock some, as far as like what I think of with those. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what surprise. I don't know because I don't know what everybody's expectations are. I mean, I guess after Scare Package, that would probably be surprising. But then if you watch The Pale Door, it might not be as surprising.
Is there a horror film, like a subgenre horror film that you would like to make that you haven't had the opportunity to yet?
Yes, I have a script that I wrote with Cameron Burns and Farrell Rose called Dream Machine, and it's a science fiction horror, body horror thriller kind of thing. Like I love David Cronenberg.
I was just gonna say like Cronenberg.
Yeah. Like I love that kind of stuff, and like Videodrome's like one of my all-time favorites, and so yeah, that's something I really, really want to make. And then I have, again, we want to do these genre mashups all the time. I also have, I love sports movies. That might surprise some people. Like I love sports movies. I just think I love Rudy and Hoosiers and all that stuff. I think are great, and I just think Rocky. Like I love those movies because they just have this emotional core and heart to them. And there's a very
like a triumph for the will kind of thing. I love that kind of thing for sure.
Yeah, there's just something that's just appealing about this like journey of like trying to like I'm a sucker for coming of age stories and like somebody's fighting really hard to accomplish something and I eat that up. So sports movies are just kind of like that trope in itself. But with that in mind, Cameron and I right now are writing a sports horror movie. So it's like all the sports tropes mixed with like a horror comedy because nobody's ever done that before. Huh. Yeah, so we're working on that right now, and I'm really excited about that because I haven't seen that before. And so yeah, it's a little, kind of like Glow on Netflix a little bit. That kind of meets, I don't even know, meets Scare Package. Like
it sounds cool, man. Like they say, it's all been done before, but I've never heard of nothing like that. That's pretty unique. Yeah,
well, and that's why we want to do it. We want to do things that we made a horror western because we didn't see a ton of those, and we made a all horror comedy anthology because I've seen all the anthologies, but I'd never seen one that was all horror comedy in this style. So that's what we want to go after, things that we haven't really seen before.
What's the strangest thing a fan's ever asked you to do so far?
I mean, honestly,
hopefully it's not the show.
No. No, I mean, I don't know. Look, it's weird whenever somebody asks to sign something that still doesn't. I don't get it. Like this is all still very, very new to me, and I don't, because like I'm a fan. Like I'm a fan of horror, and and like I'll go to the conventions and I want to see these people, and I'm like, so it's just it's a different thing for me, and I haven't there's no like even that question to me, I'm just like, oh, like no, like nobody, there's nothing, but I think so nothing crazy. It's just been an honor to see people who create like fan art and do little things, or I'll get a message from someone who's like, oh my God, this is what this meant to me, and I was really struggling and down, and like this helped, and I'm like, oh my, like that's everything. That's like, everything. So no, not so far, nothing awful, I suppose. Or too weird. But I mean, there have been a couple actors who have been really, interesting, so to say. But
how do you deal with that? Like, how do you handle that situation?
I mean, just delicately, it's just like, hey, casting at paperstreetpictures.com. You can send an email there, and we catalog those, and there's people that go through reels, and excited to see your work, and look, we'll watch everybody's reel and what that is. It's nothing like that. There's no, I mean, again, you watch Scare Package, we're not here to like rub our noses in anything or anybody, that it's a very, I'm a big believer in just embracing everyone and showing love to as many people as we can, and just like being supportive, and like that's what I want to do, and the good people who have helped me, and that's and now as I slowly am like getting through this door of opportunity, I mean, I'm gonna hold this damn door open as long as I can, and just like usher all my friends in, So that's the way that I look at it. But yeah, actors, they got to do what they got to do. I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate the hustle. But again, just like with people that are trying to get other films made, and we're producing for other folks and stuff too. As that's happening, we just want to work with people we like. We want to work with our friends. That's what it comes down to. So, if they're cool, then that changes everything. And if I really like them as a person, I'll even be like, hey, maybe I can write a part that's like to their strengths, or something like that, because I want them to have opportunity, that they don't. But yeah, I mean, when we were making this, there were people that told us that we don't know who Jeremy King is. Like we could have gotten a bigger actor to play Rad Chad. I mean, that would have been an easy thing to do. But I was like, no, like Jeremy's my friend. I like Jeremy. I like, he annoys the hell out of me, but I love him, and he knows that. And so I was like, no, this is kind of, it's written for him, that's what I know he's like. So, so like, fuck that, we do our thing.
Let me ask you a couple unrelated goofy questions before we close here. What's the best gift anyone's ever given you?
The best gift anyone's ever given me? God, there's, God, I mean, so oh man, I would have to say, so I'm a big, I mentioned Paul Thomas Anderson is my favorite filmmaker, and my ex, so there was a poster print. It's from There'll Be Blood. It's a very, very limited. There's only like 100 of these in the world, and it was my dream to get one of these prints, and they're worth a ton of money, and they're really hard to find. It was done by Mondo, an artist named Aaron Horkey, and it took him like 1,000 hours to do the poster art for this. And it's just unbelievably beautiful. And I always wondered, I never could find one. They were just either too expensive, the one times they did come up, or just it didn't work out. And she got me that one year for my birthday. Like, it was like, I mean, I cried. I was like, oh my God. And it is one of my favorite pieces of art that I still own. And then I will say, related to that, I collect art, so that's part of it. But I'm a big Andy Warhol fan, and I went to an auction that was in I think it was Springfield, Illinois, and I went to this auction because it was a state auction and somebody had passed away, and they had a bunch of Andy Warhol art, and I just wanted to go see the Andy Warhol art. So I went there, and there was an older woman who was there, and I didn't know who she was, and I was just like going through, like looking at the art and just commenting on how beautiful all this was. And none of this could I ever afford. I could never afford to own Andy Warhol. It was ridiculous. And I have an Andy Warhol tattoo and of a piece of art that he's done. And I was just, as I was going through, and this nice older woman was like, hey, like, oh, you like Warhol? I was like, yeah, he's my favorite artist. And, one of my dreams one day is like, one day I'm going to buy any piece of Andy Warhol art. And she's like, well, which of these do you like? And there's like this little like booklet, and it had like hand drawings of Andy Warhol. Excuse me. And so we're going through, and I was like, oh wow, there's one of the drawings of the soup can that he had done and he had signed and all this and everything. And then she's like, yeah, it'll be up for auction this afternoon. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I can't afford this, you know, like the starting price was like $5,000 or something. I was like, I can't even, and it's only going to go up from there, you know, like 10, 15, 20 grand. I'm like, this is not even possible. And she's like, well, what could you afford? And I'm like nothing close to it. Like, I can't even, I don't even know who I was talking to. And she's like, well, what? And I was like, if you took a zero off, I maybe could do that, joking. And she's like, okay. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're a real fan. She's like, we're going to make a ton of, my husband would have been so happy that this art is going to a real fan.
Aww.
And she's like, $500. That's great. And I mean, I was like awestruck. I couldn't believe it. She was his wife, now widowed wife, and just was like, I want you to have it. And I bought a piece of original Andy Warhol art for $500. And it was amazing. And I still get chills like thinking about it. But and again, people like that do those things, you know, they don't have to do. Like, that's what I want to do for other people. I want to be in that position one day to do something like that. So yeah, so I mean, if that counts as a gift, I think it does. You know, that would probably be, you know. So no offense to the ex, that was a great gift, but maybe that's number one. Yeah.
Well, if you're ever in my area, man, like we're not far from Pittsburgh. I've been to the museum dozens of times, and it's incredible. You have to make it down here.
I've gone out there. I've flown out there just for it.
Oh yeah.
And then I flew to New York last year, a year ago, February for my birthday, and went to the Whitney when they did the whole Warhol exhibit, and I flew there just for that.
Nice.
So yeah, no, actually, yeah, and I have good friends in Philadelphia and in the Pittsburgh area, around there. So yeah.
If you could describe to me, what was your worst blind date growing up?
So it wasn't, well, I don't think I had a lot of blind dates, but I did have, there was one date where I went with someone who was just infuriatingly frustrating the whole time, and I just was like trying to get through it. And I remember, this was back in the day, so I was like, you know, 16, 17, I just got in a car, and, you know, so one of those early dates. And I remember we didn't have, you know, we were going to go to a movie, and we stopped to pick up a newspaper. And I was like, hey, could you pick up a newspaper, you know, as we pulled around? And she's like, oh, I'll get it. And she goes and grabs it. And she brings me the USA Today. And I'm like, wait, USA Today? Like she's like, oh, well, I figured it would have all the movie listings. I was like, in the country? Like, there's no way I can know what movie times are playing in Brandon, Florida right now on USA Today. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, what is this? Who's this person? And then she continually was just saying like the most absurd things. And then we were at dinner. I remember she ordered, you know, wanted dessert. And, you know, I was like, please, can we just go? And I'm just being nice, and I just want to like get through it, you know. And I'm just trying to be, you know, kind. And then I remember she's like, oh, let's have dessert. I'm like, fine, let's have dessert. And then she's like, I'll take ice cream. You know, she's like, ooh, apple pie a la mode. That sounds good too. She's like, no, I'll just take ice cream a la mode. And I'm like, ice cream a la mode? What the hell is ice cream a la mode? Like, you know what that means? You know, it's like, that's ice cream with ice cream. And she's like, yeah, I know what that means. Like, of course, I just want more ice cream. I'm like, okay, you clearly don't know what that means. And this is, so I remember that as just being, you know, Quince nails on a chalkboard, you know, kind of night. So, yeah.
If you could get in a time machine and go back and tell yourself key advice that you've learned now, what would it be?
Just start earlier and film. I knew I wanted to do it. And look, I'm very happy with the way it worked out, because I think that, you know, the fact that I worked in the you know, the management world and tech world, and I managed all these people and was able to kind of usher them through a process, like that made me probably a better producer, because it's a very similar skill set.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I went to film school with Adam Wingard, who directed You're Next, and he's doing Kong vs. Godzilla and the Blair Witch remake and all that. And, you know, and he was just like the weird dude in the back of the class, like drawing pentagrams, you know, on the desk and stuff. But I always really liked him. I thought he was a cool dude. And we like geeked out over loving Event Horizon and stuff like that and everything. And, but, you know, he immediately left film school and made his first feature, like for nothing, like literally like $1,000, called Pop Skull. I did Pop Skull and Homesick. These two movies that him and Evan Katz, who's also a really amazing filmmaker, made Cheap Thrills, and he worked on the new Swamp Thing show that's now coming back to CW and all that. And but I just envy the fact that they just went for it. They were like, and I took a job, you know, I took a safer job and wanted to, you know, make I should have just like lived on a couch and just with my friends and just made movies because, you know, going to make the money did not make me happier. And I had to reverse engineer that to realize and then turn that away. And, you know, when I make a lot less money than I ever used to, and I'm so much happier than I've ever been. So, you know, I think just don't be afraid to just, you know, because I thought I wasn't good enough, you know, I thought I couldn't do it. And actually Adam is somebody who I saw him at South by Southwest. He worked on VHS, which is a huge influential film to me. And I thought it's amazing. He worked on that, and he said, he's like, why aren't you making movies? Like, you were the kid in class that I thought for sure was going to make it. And I was like, whoa, what? Me? What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, like everybody thought you were going to be the one. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Like, I didn't even, like, I had this like cognitive dissonance between, you know, there's a thing, you know, this whole concept of imposter syndrome is like a really real thing. And we all feel like we haven't made it. And this idea that like I'm only here and I'm in this room until they realize I'm a fraud, right? And they're going to kick me out, you know, because I'm not supposed to be here. Like, you always think that. And I've always dealt with imposter syndrome a lot. So so having those folks who kind of believed in me was there. So I just wish I had just followed that passion earlier on, because, you know, I mean, God, had I had a 10-year head start on what we're doing now, like, I don't even know what I could do, you know? So, but at the same time, it worked out really well. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers.
Awesome, man. I asked everybody this. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to. It's a little kooky, but do you have a good shit your pants story?
I mean, I did once get lost driving home from a girl's place, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and this was when I was in high school, and I was trying to make my way home, and I had to piss so bad. I remember pulling down the side of the so this is very literal, but I made a wrong turn, and there was like a bridge, and I had to go like multiple miles to turn around. And it's not like a bridge I can pull over or anything. And I'm just like, oh my God, like there's nothing I can do. And yeah, I fucking pissed myself in my own car.
Oh, jeez.
First thing ever. Like, I went like 20 minutes. I mean, it was just like pure agony.
It's terrible. Oh.
Bridge turnaround, like in the Tampa, Florida area. And I just could not. I'm like, oh my God. And even though there's like a warning that's like, there's 15 miles before you can even exit. I'm like, no, this is a nightmare. Yeah, so that happened. So that's wholly embarrassing. But it fucking happened. So.
Hey, in close, do you have any words of inspiration that you could give any filmmakers coming up?
Yeah, just go make stuff. You know, don't be afraid to push and go for it. And you know, I went to Full Sail and I go back there to talk to film students all the time, and you know, I'm always saying like fail big. You know, just go for it. Like, just go for it. Like, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. But just, you know that you can be better each time, and just like set a bar and try and get it higher and try and get a little higher and try and improve each and every time. But just don't, you know, like surround yourself with people who encourage you. Surround yourself with people who are yes people. You know, Kevin Smith has a very famous, you know, I actually saw him in Austin when he gave this live. But he's like, you know, be a why not person. It's like, hey, I want to make a movie. He's like, be a friend that says, why not? Sure, go for it. You know, don't be the person that says why. Be the person who says why not. And I was in the third row of that live when he did that. And 1 week later, I started Paper Street Pictures. So it was, you know, a big thing. I was like, yeah, why not? Like, why am I still doing this? Like, why am I not making these movies? So yeah, you just got to do it. Like, just do it. And it's okay if what you made sucks. Like what I made sucked too. Like, I have so many bad short films that are just not good at all. And that's okay, because they were learning experiences. And there were aspects. It was like, ooh, this one thing, I like what we did here. And then it's like, okay, now let's take that and let's like duplicate that. Let's do that better. Let's do that better. And but just, you know, don't get caught up in what the world thinks you should make. Make what you want to make and your friends want to make and what you think is interesting. Have your own voice. Doesn't matter where you live, what you're doing. Just go out and do it, and then just keep doing it. You know, that's it.
Where can we keep up with you on social media, sir?
I mean, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram. So Aaron B. Koontz, and just find me there. And then all of our movies have all the social channels and stuff too. But I constantly promoting. I mean, I really use a lot of social media to promote what we're doing. So that's a big part of that. But and then also I love talking to people about the movie. I love kind of engaging and understanding what they want, what they like. It's there. I mean, if you hate the movie, maybe don't tweet at me because I do read it and it sucks. But I don't know why people want to do that. And but good on you, dude. Like fine. Like I mean, look, if you don't like meta humor, I get it. This movie's not for you. But there's some people who are just like so antagonizing, and I'm like, okay, man, I just love making movies. I'm sorry you didn't like it. Like, let's let that be it. Maybe like that's okay. But yeah, but if you do like it, I love to hear from folks, and everybody does. Like the whole team: Cameron Burns, Alex Reading, Sean Talley, Ashley Sneed, the people that made it, and the filmmakers too: Emily Higgins, cold opening, Chris Phipps did One Time in the Woods, Noah Segan, one of my longtime friends, wonderful actor as well. If you see Knives Out, he's the funny dude doing dad jokes behind Daniel Craig the whole time in Knives Out, and Baron Vaughn, Anthony Cousins, and then Hillary and Courtney Andahar are a dream group of people to work with, people that I absolutely love. We want to continue making projects with. We are so lucky. And if folks, I think a lot of people are like, oh, Aaron, you did such a great, and it's like, this was such a collaborative thing. And I was just lucky to be able to give a platform to these people who are so good at what they do and kind of believe in this weird idea that we had. So show them support, tell them what you like, all this stuff. And, tell Shudder you want a sequel. And I don't know, maybe there's a better chance if that happens. So.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm going to have everybody do it. You heard him. The man, the myth, the legend, Aaron B. Koontz. Write to Shudder. Let's get this sequel happening, man. Thank you so much for your time and the opportunity. I appreciate it. You have a great day, man. Thank you so much for being a guest. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks. And is that a Life Force? No. Is that Tom Atkins? I'm trying to see what shirt you're wearing. Oh, cool. Night of the Creeps?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Atkins is gone.
Yeah, that's so great. I love Night of the Creeps.
Actually, I Fright Rags is my shiz, man. Like, I got like 50 Fright Rag shirts in the bedroom. Every time I have a sale.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's really cool. I'm trying. We're talking with them right now about Scarepacker. So we're trying.
Oh my God, dude! I would love that. You got to keep us posted. I'll be the first in line. So
okay, that's awesome.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Peace and love, man.
I appreciate it.
Have a great day, brother. Thank you so much.
You too, man. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Take care.